practiced by fringe groups in the backwater southern regions of America. A leftover cult religion from the slave trade. It's generally considered to be something from the old world, an outdated, sinister religion that has no relevance in our modern-day society. Dictionaries go so far to describe voodoo as something that is extremely implausible or unrealistic.
I didn't know that much about voodoo outside of a lot of stereotypical perceptions of it, and I think this does a really great job uncovering a lot of that, as well as talking about the tribes and the people who practice and celebrate voodoo. I think this is a really interesting narrative about someone who is cursed by voodoo and going out and combating that through other voodoo practices. I think this was informative. The narrative was really clear and easy to follow, and it made for a really dynamic piece, like very, very good storytelling and one that's really interesting to follow.
You are brought to this specific region and you get told by these stories from not one person, not two people, but a series of people about certain incidents that have occurred to not only themselves, but those who are around them. You get some situations where you find that a whole community has been possessed, or someone who has been perfectly healthy to then have a pretty traumatizing, life-altering experience of challenges and essentially being led to believe that they are in fact being cursed and having to overcome these curses and the weird cases and instances that comes within that. It's really interesting and engaging and captivating, and you really truly listen to the storytellers at play here. It seems as if it's folklore almost of, you know, you don't really know what to believe, but there's a moral story at the end of this, and, you know, be careful of who you're around in your environment, and being able to not give so much access of yourself to others, and just being, you know, it definitely leaves you on an eerie edge, so to speak.
They give us this close-up glimpse of their voodoo rituals, how they hold reputation to a very high standard in between tribes, and their rivalries, their traditions, some of the hunting techniques as well. Also exploring their healing and letting go of revenge and other negative feelings, leaving it to karma to do its job. Exploring that concept in this scenery of a tribe and its relationship to nature as well was very interesting. I loved how they talk about respecting the land and each other, and also how they touch on the environmental problems with palm oil companies disrupting a very fine balance.
I liked how it was kind of broken down into the categories, and there was the history of these people and how they were perceived as evil. But then when the documentarist, is that a word? When the guy who did the documentary actually had to go through and get accepted into this area that they were in, and the trek he made to get there and tell that side of the story, that was really interesting in itself. And how these people were living off the land and they had no furniture, beds, or AC. They relied completely on the earth and water for everything, and their ancestor, the traditional things that their ancestors taught them, and the food and all of that stuff just for daily life was interesting on its own. And then when you add in the story of the man who was ill and felt like he had a curse put on him, and then, you know, these people actually helped heal him because he was one of their own. It was a really interesting story about ritual and soul trading, and voodoo curses and just all of that. But then also the visuals were stunning, the landscape. I like the black and white footage of the tribe in the past, and just a real nice variety of visuals without being all over the place. It still had really good structure and pacing, and the length of the documentary was good. Nice subtle music throughout. I don't like it when music takes over, and I felt like that was not the case with this. Spiritual test to be able to film. I thought that was neat to kind of see him be able to go through that and make it through, and he felt like, you know, he had earned his place there in a way. Kind of a miracle and neat to see, and just interesting.
Just draws you in right away. It's so very matter of fact about all of this, the Dayak people and the voodoo and the curses. There's only one thing I could think to correct early on when it says everybody knows you don't cross the Dayak people or something to that effect. I did not. So I was happy to learn about that. Should I ever cross the Dayak people, I will now know better thanks to having watched this. Overall, really just fascinating and compelling piece. And it even had as matter of fact as it was, it had an absolute like cinematic quality to it. When they're when we're really in there with the Dayak people and seeing what's going on, I just thought it was so cool. Something I wasn't even aware I wanted to learn about until tuning into this piece, and then I just couldn't stop watching it again. It was really well done, just fascinating subject matter, and again presented so with so much respect and so matter of factly that you immediately you're buying into it, whether or not you had any preconceived notions about voodoo or what you believed about it. While you're watching this, you are absolutely invested and believing. At least that was my experience.
Really interesting topic, and the way that it's approached is very respectful, and I think it really respects the culture and the values, and it comes at it from a place of interest and curiosity. And I think as a viewer, that makes for a really pleasant experience watching it. It's not sensationalized. I think it uses a really great amount of reenactments and creative license to visually represent some of the concepts in the story, and that doesn't take away from the actual footage of the different experiences or actions that the different characters are doing. Overall, it's a really great and fascinating documentary.
What a powerful narrative about a man cursed by voodoo. The man from the West who went there did an excellent job narrating the story. The cinematography was gorgeous, notably the drone shots over the area and the intimate shots of people and their ceremonies to purge the evil. The soundtrack was excellent to set the tone of this dramatic success story. I was impressed by the passion and knowledge of the tribe performing the ceremonies. You can also sense their frustration with capitalists attempting to disrupt their customs and area.